Hello everyone, this is update for October 2, 2022, day 221 of the war and of the date update. In a summary, what's going on, we're probably on the verge of total outright collapse of the Russian front line in Ukraine. It's definitely falling apart as we've seen in North Luhansk area. This is here, and now it's totally collapsing, showing Kherson bridgehead, which we've been saying for since the beginning. This is done deal. Russia will lose this bridgehead on the western side of Dnipro River. But before we discuss those specific situations, let's just start walk through from the very top, and then we're gonna do it in a clockwise fashion. So artillery fire exchange, all sort of other strikes exchange is somewhat subdued along the state border. And now let's actually move to North Luhansk area. So what's happening here is, as you can see, there is another sort of breakthrough by Ukrainian troops, and they are on the move towards Svatove here. So there is some small Russian unit, militarized police, is encircled in this Kislivka, and right now the Russian sort of intermediate defensive positions are in Kuzemka here. The main one is going to be in Svatove. That's going to be a large stronghold, as we discussed. Russian troops will try to establish new front line along this road that sort of kind of goes from Kupyansk to Kremina, and basically, including Svatove, and moving up north there. What is unclear is what's going on here in this Borovar area, and all of the troops, we believe they are moving and basically retreating, moving to Svatove as we speak. Unfortunately, we don't have confirmation of what's going on in this area, but it's a pretty logical move, given that Ukrainian troops here are already near Kuzemka in this area. So again, even the way it looks so far, it doesn't look that Russian troops will be able to establish new front line as sort of discussed along this sort of line going up from north through Svatove and to Kremina. So this is going to be another intermediate front line that probably will be lost in a, hard to say, to be honest, probably 10, 15, 20 days. Could be up to a month, really could be anywhere in that time range. The only change that can significantly sort of change the situation is a large number of motivated Russian reservists. We don't know if that's sort of one big huge unknown, what's gonna happen there. If that materializes, yes, things are changing. If not, this is gonna be let's call it slow motion collapse of the Russian front here in North Luhansk. So as you can see, this is sort of new front line. This is temporary front line. Ukrainian troops are still moving towards Kremina. Russian troops already digging in this Kremina. That's going to be a large stronghold, and Ukrainian troops are on the move, and I would say relatively slow move. Let's just kind of like revise again this whole situation. 23rd, first initial decisive move by Ukrainian troops on this bridgehead here. Then, developing this initial success, continuing this, and creating opportunity to squeeze Russian troops from Liman. Then finally, Russian troops lost Liman, and this front line is now it's Kremina. As discussed, is gonna go along this road towards Svatove, and then probably up north along the Troitsk, Pokrovsky, and Nizhny Duvanka. Obviously, the focus is gonna be on the southern section of this whole North Luhansk section of the front line, where Ukrainian troops are probably gonna be moving is, this is where it sort of stands as we speak. So as you can see, Ukrainian troops advance. They encircle this small militarized police unit in Kislivka, and then they sort of stopped at that village Kuzemka. That's intermediate front line, and then eventually Russian troops will fall back to Svatove along this road. However, the bigger sort of danger is uh, what's going to happen here in this the most southern section. Most likely, Ukrainian troops probably will try to attack slightly north of Kremina and sort of move basically between Svatove and Kremina, and that really opens up huge opportunities because they can, turn south or southeast, to be more precise, which will create tremendous problems for the Russian front line, including here. That's why we're talking about those Wagner mercenaries that basically potentially pulling themselves into larger problem down the road. But for now, it's not apparent. Let's put this way for the Russian troops. So that's it's gonna be move probably this towards southeast, and then actually probably move straight towards Starobilsk, because at this point really Starobilsk is the hub. Svatove obviously that it's done. It's not a hub, just stronghold, defensive position, nothing more than that. So at this point, Starobilsk is the hub of Russian supply of Russian troops in this whole area, including here around the Bakhmut area. So if Ukrainian troops basically move, this is really severe supply lines, and Russian troops essentially needs to be supplied. You see this road that sort of kind of like goes in parallel to Ukrainian border. So that's going to be much more additional sort of drive around, and that obviously creates higher demand for trucks, trains, everything. So that's just going to create another strain on Russian troops in this whole area. But I think the most sort of opportunistic for Ukrainian side is obviously going behind this Kremina, Rubizhne, and Severodonetsk, and sort of kind of moving towards almost towards Luhansk and trying to cross the river somewhere here. That's going to create complete collapse of the Russian front line. This is obviously assumption is Russian reservists are not coming within the next 15, 20, let's say 30 days, right? And they are not motivated, completely demotivated. So this is 2 points: is when they come, and then how motivated they are. Or let's put this different way: will there be any motivated reservists units here? Right. So that's a question, because for sure, because there is a sheer number of Russian reservists that mobilized, it guarantees that some percentage, and we don't know. That's really big question. Some percentage is motivated for sure. There's no question about it. The second question that sort of flows from that: will Russian command be able to effectively use those motivated troops? That's another huge question, because so far it doesn't look that Russian command was using resources effectively. Let's put it this way. And to be fair, Ukrainian is not much better in this way. It's just, I would say, stars aligned for Ukraine to succeed right now. So again, so the next sort of move is going to be going and sort of support. So the main move is probably going to be kind of attacking like in this direction, and then will be supporting move towards Starobilsk and so on, and probably even kind of like north, east of Svatove, basically essentially almost like encircling Svatove, and that allows to liberate Svatove without really much fighting. So this is probably the next big move in this whole area. Russian troops are clearly don't have enough manpower to defend this line, as I discussed, along this road. So they already preparing fallback positions in Rubizhne. So this is basically, you can see Kremina, Rubizhne, and then Severodonetsk. It's kind of like one contiguous urban area, and plus Lysychansk on the western side of Syrskyi Donetsk River. So this is just one big call it agglomeration. That's how they call it in Ukraine. Uh, so this is kind of where it's all going apparently. We'll obviously provide updates as things develop. So now let's move south. Let's see what's going on North Donbass front line. Things here are pretty much like a broken record. The same stuff: attacks in Soledar, attacks in Bakhmut, then also attempt here in Vemka. It's all Wagner mercenaries, right? Um, then also in this little bit in southern section, this Vesela Dolina Zaitsev. So it's all pretty much no changes and no essential advances of Russian troops either here. Now let's see what's going on central Donbass front line. Here is sort of somewhat similar again. Attacks out of this Piskeseli and this New York, but again, no changes, no meaningful advances by Russian troops here either. Oh, by the way, I just want to clarify what this means is Battalion East and Battalion West. This is sort of add-on units that were added to 42nd Division. These are so-called Kadyrov troops, basically. The sort of head of Chechnya. His name is Kadyrov, and so he has kind of like his pocket army in a way, and so he basically threw in a couple of battalions to support this 42nd Division. And really unclear sort of in terms of what's the point, as opportunities here pretty much non-existent at this point especially. Let's look quickly what's going on at Zaporizhzhia front line. Things here, as always, kind of dead. No essential changes here. This is probably will be left towards the end in terms of the area where they're going to be offensive fighting from Ukrainian side. That's assuming that those Russian reserve units are not arriving on time or they completely demotivated. Now let's move to Kherson bridgehead because there are new developments here and important developments for that matter. So as you can see, Ukrainian troops essentially managed to liberate this whole area from Zolota Balka to Dudchany in a matter of a day, essentially. And even right now, Russian troops somewhere at the end of south of Dudchany, this village. And this is not defensive position. It just the dark came, and Ukrainian troops essentially had to stop or decided to stop advances. They definitely don't have skills to fight in the dark time. Let's put this way. So this also, and part of the reason why this front line collapsed here so quickly. So it looks like this 98th Airborne Division was pulled out for refitting purposes, and the replacement is 80th Brigade, which only has 2 regular battalions and 1 reconnaissance battalion. So it's essentially, it's not even a brigade, it's more like a regiment, even like weak regiment type of unit. So it's definitely extremely weak unit, and it's obviously not able to withstand the pressure. In terms of Ukrainian units, we don't have exact sort of information. Probably 128th Brigade could be here. Any of this brigade, and basically any of these brigades that are main sort of striking force so far, 46th, 35th, 36th, and 128th, they could be here as well. Like, so there's not enough information at this point to fully understand what's the composition of attacking Ukrainian forces here. So, but let's just actually look what's happening here in a little bit more detail. So as you can see, Russian troops really started, I would say, fleeing in essentially panic, because this is, started from Zolota Balka, and it's probably roughly 20 kilometers in one day. And not that they managed to really stop Ukrainian troops. It was just stopped because of the, darkness, right? So Ukrainian troops stopped in Dudchany, which they now liberated. And so we'll see what happens tomorrow morning. Russian command probably desperately bringing something, one of this airborne regiments here, or we'll see what happens, let's put it this way, or this 76th division. But essentially, this is extremely dangerous situation because this could potentially lead to quick advance to basically Nova Kakhovka. Or to this area, and this really, and not to mention that this is already salient, right? So this is creates extremely uncomfortable position for Russian troops, and especially if they are outnumbered by Ukrainian troops from all angles. So more or less that it's almost guaranteed that this whole area, the salient, will be lost in relatively short order. And if Russian troops manage to stop somewhere Ukrainian troops, it's probably going to be this Milove or this Novorossiysk. As long as you can see here, this kind of like river falling into Dnipro, so that's probably going to may stabilize here, or otherwise it's going to be really outright collapse, and Ukrainian troops will manage to get to not Nova Kakhovka, but basically to the area here. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and I will post on the community board any urgent developments which totally possible here in this area, so I'll keep you posted on those. Thanks again. Bye bye.